So, tonight I wasn't going to make a video. I was just going to maybe record a little bit of what I was doing to use for later and make a video on another night. I've got some equipment change out happening tomorrow that I'm just trying to finish up a couple pictures I've been working on over 4 or 5 nights and start fresh and anew with a camera I've been waiting to get back with a new modification on it. And then I come out here tonight and I see that. Now, it doesn't really show up too well on here. I'll get another shot of it, actually how bright it actually is. It's bright enough that I can see the front of the houses when it flashes on, when I don't have a light shining in my face. And I, in a dark room, you would see the flashing. Now, up until today, that tower has had red lights on it. Slowly flashing red lights. And it may not have happened today. It may have happened yesterday because I don't remember. I wasn't out shooting last night because of the weather. So in the last 2 days, this has happened. And on the surface, it may not be that big of a deal because it's one little single tower in the middle of, nowhere. But we live in a pretty rural part of the state and the county that we live in. And progressively, as white LEDs have become the norm, the halos over the cities have grown more and more distinct. So much so that when my telescope starts shooting over the dome of the nearby cities, I can't go any lower than, say, like 45 degrees, and it starts showing up in the photos. And if I go much lower than that, it starts washing out whatever I'm trying to shoot, especially if it's faint. So what point am I getting at? Because after all, I do live in a sparsely populated state in a sparsely populated county, and what does it matter what I think? Well, what matters is things like this that's taking away the literal heritage that our children are owed. Over the course of tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of years, humans have been able to look up at the night sky and see a chock full of stars. But progressively, year by year, month by month, as we add more and more lights to everywhere and more daylight, bright lights everywhere, we are progressively taking more and more of the night sky away from our children. We are literally taking away one of the oldest vestiges of humanity from our children. So I hope this is temporary, but right as it stands right now, I can't shoot. I tested it. I can't shoot anywhere near because the light is so bright that it goes up and reflects off the inside of the dew shield inside the telescope. So even when I extend the dew shield trying to block out that light, the light is so light because it's white light. It is sunlight light. It is so bright that it's reflecting off the inside of the dew shield and ruining the exposures as it is. So removing the nuisance of the fact that we have two strobe lights flashing straight into our front of our house, we're also taking away the last vestiges of what we have of the night sky. Now, granted, where I live is not nearly as bad as others, but that makes makes it even harder, because even with some steady light pollution you can filter out. But bright strobes like that are much harder to filter out. I don't understand how this is okay. I don't understand how we don't do things like this and understand what we are robbing from ourselves and from our children and from our children's children. The night is meant to be enjoyed. The night is meant not something to be feared. The night is for looking up and seeing all that we miss during the day. Because the sun, we get many hours a day where we don't have to look at a single star. We don't have to look at a single planet. And for half the month, we don't have to look at the moon. But as light pollution continues to grow, as these white lights continue, these sunlight, high Kelvin lights continue to get brighter and more proliferate further, we're losing the night sky. Because I can see halos in every direction. There's a industrial mill right over here that blocks out and makes a halo over here in the northeast. In the due east, there's a city that does the same thing. To the southwest, there's a city that does the same thing. And to the northwest, a little further in the distance, there's another city that does the same thing. And I live in a rural part of the country as a whole. And even here, we're losing our night sky. We're stealing from our children in yet another way for the sake of progress. There's so many wonders to behold up here, and we're content to bleach it out for the sake of a little bit more light. Is it really worth it? You tell me.
Oh, cut the bleeding heart crap, will ya? We've all got our switches, lights, and knobs to deal with, Stryker. I mean, down here, there are literally hundreds and thousands of blinking, beeping, and flashing lights. Blinking and beeping and flashing. They're flashing and they're beeping. I can't stand it anymore. They're blinking and beeping and flashing. Why doesn't somebody pull a plug?